COP28 live here, Dubai, 1.5 Media and Innovators Magazine. I'm here with the famous Rachel Parent. She is with We Are Family Foundation and one of the fellows. Do they call it a fellow?
I guess it would be considered a delegate, but same
delegate.
Same thing.
Wow, that's even better than a fellow, a delegate, and special invitation here in the Blue Zone at COP, and it's her first COP. First of all, introduce yourself in case I didn't do it properly. Why are you here? How did you get here? Who are you representing as a delegate? And a little bit about yourself.
For sure. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm thrilled to be here at COP, and it all was sort of a happenstance. I started being involved in activism at the age of 12. I found out about GMOs, our food system, the impact of pesticides and herbicides on pollinators, our soil, our environment, and that created a huge change in my life because I started to realize just how impactful our food system was, and it needed a radical change. And so I started campaigning against industrial agriculture methods like monocultures, GMOs, and pesticides, and that grew into realizing the climate connection to our food. And I had a lot of incredible mentors along the way that have taught me all about regenerative agriculture, the importance of taking care of the soil and nourishing it and using it for soil carbon sequestration. And then I started my own organization called Kids Right to Know. We are focused on teaching kids specifically about the importance of our food and how we all have the ability to change our food system. I'm also here representing the Global Forest Coalition, in addition to the Global Justice Ecology Project. So there's a lot of different groups going on, and We Are Family Foundation as a delegate.
Wow, that is absolutely amazing, Rachel. We also have a sponsor, Allied4Future, Allied4Future, and we're really lucky to be here with a spectacular view. I don't know if you noticed, but look, we're right here at the entrance of the Blue Zone, and there's the United Nations flag, not the walk of shame, but the walk of all the nations going right down to the center of the COP here at Expo City where they had the World's Expo. And so it's just a beautiful setting. You can kind of possibly hear the noise in the background of people talking. It's getting close to the end of the day. People are wrapping up their meetings and now going to side events and social dinners and different things. I want to know, really it's a twist on a meme, but I want to go even deeper. A COP28 half full, your optimistic perspective. This is your first COP. I want to know what all your impressions are, if you have an optimistic perspective, and kind of what are you seeing, how are you feeling, what have you pulled out so far?
I think it's easy to come into a space like this and point out ironies in being at an event with over 70,000 people flying in from all around the world. And yet I also have a lot of optimism about being here, and I'm also thrilled to be here. It's my first COP, and it's allowed me the opportunity to meet so many incredible people so far that can help with collaborations and create real change. I think one thing that I'm incredibly optimistic about is the fact that this is one of the first COPs that I've noticed have a big emphasis on regenerative agriculture. And of course, there's corporate greenwashing of that word, regeneration, and that's why we're here, to try and defend that word, to try and defend the practices. There's still a lot more that needs to be done to defend real organic regenerative agriculture that's actually nourishing the soil, and to protect biodiversity from big agri-food companies that ultimately want to take over our seed supplies. So of course there's a lot we have to do, but that's why we're here, people like myself that are demanding better for all of us and demanding better for our food system.
That's amazing, Rachel. And so, you know, this is the biggest COP for food and agriculture. Yeah. More than 50% of the pavilions and themes around food and agriculture. Big topics, never before in the COP where they're really pushing regenerative agriculture. Yeah. You just told me, a matter of fact, before we started this, that you were over in the green zone and saw Vandana Shiva, savor of our seeds, you know. Wow. So in that food space, this is the place to be, as well as probably one of the most controversial things, but that's where we need to be, where the controversy is, where things could be good or bad. And I see a lot of positive things moving forward. Do you also have that positive optimism, or also seeing the positivity? And if you see something, do you immediately say, hey, I want to call you out, or I want to explain that? What are you doing, and what are you here to do?
Yeah, so I'm only on my second day of COP, but it's funny that you mentioned controversies. I feel like for many, many years, talking about food systems was a controversial issue. Saying GMOs in a room brought up hushed whispers, and you weren't allowed to talk about pesticides and herbicides. And because of that, I was barred from a lot of opportunities as a young activist. So the fact that I can come into a lot of these spaces and have really honest conversations about agriculture now is really refreshing. And I think that's probably the most positive thing for me. In terms of greenwashing, yeah, I think I'm the type of person that throughout the coming week, when I see it, I will call it out, because that's what needs to happen. We need people on ground that are willing to say that's not right, and you can't co-opt words that aren't yours. It represents the real organic farmers that are putting in the work and are taking care of the soil.
That's so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. The last and hardest question I have for you today is, what does a world that works for everyone look like for you?
I think there's a lot of things that make a world that works for everyone happen. And I think we talked about this previously as well, that education is a huge part of it, but real education, not corporate influenced education, about our food systems, about climate, about our environment, a world where everyone can have their needs met and can live safely and comfortably and have access to real nutritious food is incredibly important, because without nutrition and without our health, what do we really have? So I look forward to helping to create that world where we all have access to healthy food, and we can create an environment where we live in peace with nature versus in harm with nature.